Niccolò is a modern-day explorer. He sails the world aboard a tall ship. Tall ships are the same vessels once used by explorers like James Cook to chart the unknown, at a time when continents had yet to be discovered. Today, the world is mapped. So what is Niccolò's mission? And how tough is it to live, work aboard a tall ship in the Arctic?
So we're talking about 10 meters waves, crazy wind, 50, 60 knots, wind gusts.
His journey isn't about discovering new lands, but about testing human limits, documenting places few people ever experience, and exploring what it means to exist at the edge of the known world.
One of the best moments of my life and some of the worst moments of my life.
This is where the ocean meets modern-day explorer Niccolò Banfi.
Where the ocean meets.
Hi Niccolò, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi Joel, thanks you to have invited me actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to start on the right foot, I've seen your YouTube channel, I've seen your Instagram channel. It is magnificent. But for somebody that hears about your story for the first time, I thought it would be beautiful if you can just paint me a picture with words of waking up in the Arctic on a tall ship. What does such a morning look like?
It's like to be on a totally different world, totally different planet. And even the sounds. I mean, you think there is silence, but it's not a clear silence, especially in Antarctica. You can still hear something. You still hear maybe some icebergs, the ice is moving, some water, some maybe penguins jumping in the water. So, and especially for me that I come from a big city, this is something unusual, but that's why it's an amazing feeling to hear the nature and unspoiled nature like this. It's something incredible and opens your heart and your mind in a different way. So I have to say thank you to have the opportunity to visit these kind of places.
So you step out on deck with a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah,
and the sun is reflected in the ice.
Exactly. And early in the morning with the coffee or tea. And yes, it's incredible to go outside and deck and see the Antarctic Peninsula, especially with all the high mountains and glaciers and some animals around. Something incredible.
I can imagine. And it's not crazy enough that you go to Antarctica, which I think only very few people do, but you do that in a very special way. Like, first of all, you're sailing there, which is already crazy. Second of all, you're not sailing on what most people probably have in mind, but basically almost like in the age of James Cook. Can you describe to the listeners what a tall ship is? How that's different from a normal boat?
It's totally different. And especially if you think about sailing, I mean, I'm from Italy, from the Mediterranean Sea, so I used to sail since when I was young on the sloops. So classic sailing, let's say, then the one that maybe most people knows. But sailing on a tall ship with square sails is totally different thing. Totally. First of all, the people. Teamwork is essential because everything is manual. And the Europa, the one I'm navigating with, has got like 32 sails in total, so quite a lot. And everything is manual, so you think there are like we are 30, 40 people on board usually. And so teamwork is essential because you work in teams and you need to be open to other people also to work with. And of course, from outside to see a tall ship like that in Antarctica or maybe in Pacific seas, it's of course a beautiful image because reminds everyone actually, like you mentioned Cook, the explorers of the past, and it's very cinematic, very inspiring. But when you are there, it's not everything like wow. I mean, you need to be open-minded. As I told you, you need to be open with other people on board. And of course, you need to be prepared at the beginning, especially to face the seasickness, for example, which is a huge problem at the beginning, especially in some regions like the South Atlantic Ocean or the Drake Passage. Wow, they are the most extreme oceans, let's say, legs that you can find in the world. So we're talking about 10 meters waves, low temperature, and wind, crazy wind, 50, 60 knots, wind gusts. So all of these, especially if you sail for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, it's really extreme and you get tired quite soon. And of course, on board you work, so you do watches, you do shifts. And so you rotate in the night, in the day with other people. And all of this is something that can have an impact on you, on your mind, on your physical, on your body also. So, but then when you do landings in Antarctica or in South Georgia or in remote islands, like I mentioned before, is something incredible. And so when some people ask me how it is to navigate on a tall ship or doing these kind of things that you do, I say, I face probably one of the best moments of my life and some of the worst moments of my life. So up and downs. And so it's a really thought experience.
Yeah, I saw the videos of the boat rolling in the waves.
Exactly. And actually the first time I remember, I lost 7 kilos just because you have to use your core balance to do everything. You have to jump off the bed, going to have a shower, going to the toilet, eating. Even while you eat, you need to use your core to stay straight. I mean, it's physically it's impacting. So when you see rolling, it's not just rolling, but you have to imagine the people walking inside the ship. You need to
constantly balance your body. I saw on your YouTube channel this one video where you are in the bed and you're telling that you were in the midst of, I think, 120,000 penguins that day, and your happiness was radiating through the camera. Do you think going there in this way amplifies it? Do you think you would feel the same as if you were to take a helicopter, so drops you in that location, you see the 120,000 penguins?
No. I mean, no, exactly. That's why I was telling you about the moments. I mean, arriving there, experimenting those extreme conditions I've mentioned to you, so hard moments, hard times, and arriving in South Georgia, maybe in the middle of the colony I was mentioning, in Salisbury Plain, 120,000 couples, king penguins couples. I mean, is like how do you say? Is like a present. It's like a gift that the world gives to you after those days in the middle of the ocean, freezing and with seasickness and these kind of things. So I think it's a totally different, I don't know, feeling. I think arriving there with the helicopter, I don't think you can go there by helicopter, but you can go there by big yachts or cruises companies. But I think it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Even because I told you, and we were a small group also, and you are in a bubble with the same group for weeks. So you also, the good thing of this thing also is that you make a really strong relationships, strong friendships, and with the people on board. So it's something that you take with you for all your life. And be there at the same time in those difficult moments, and also on these kind of landings, like the colony in South Georgia, sharing these moments with other people, like your adventurous mind, like you, it's something really nice actually you keep for the rest of your life.
Sometimes when people ask me why I went down the route of entrepreneurship, I always say, it's like, I think if I would have lived earlier, I would have wanted to be an explorer, but all the continents are already explored. Everything has been seen. I think I have to reconsider my statement if I listen to you.
No, that's why the concept of exploration now is no more to discover new places, new countries, new territories. But in my opinion, what I'm doing is trying to give visibility to those regions that are in danger at the moment for the climate change, especially for their sea level rising, and also especially for the Pacific Islands, the problem they face with the plastic pollution, with the ocean currents. So I think exploring now should be considered like more in this way, instead of discovering new places. I mean, you can also go in the depth of the ocean. Of course, we didn't explore it yet. The bottom of the ocean is probably the last thing we need to explore on Earth, and maybe other planets on Mars. But I think for the rest, exploration should be considered like trying to help those remote locations, remote islands and communities that they need to be heard by the civilization.
I think we heard a couple of stories of the good times, like landing in Antarctica, looking at the penguins. What are the hard moments like? I can imagine there's a weather component. And as a sailor myself, I just have to ask the question, if you follow the ocean race and you see these high-tech boats chasing through the oceans and how quickly they can adapt to weather situations, and you mentioning earlier that you have 32 sails on board, how much in advance do you actually need to plan? Because you can't just put a reef.
No, everything is manual. You have to climb the mast and doing everything. So basically, to close or the sails or open, maybe something like 1 hour, 45 minutes complete. If you are full sails, you need 1 hour probably. But otherwise, if there are few sails, maybe even less, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Depends on how many sails you are sailing with. But yes, could be long time. So you need to be very efficient when the captain decides what to do.
And what other hard times are there on a boat? What can you recall? What were like the darkest moments?
Yeah, darkest moments to go in deep. I remember one was in the first time the South Atlantic from South Georgia to Tristan da Cunha. So we were in the middle of nowhere, basically. No ships around. Outside was really cold. Was high waves. High wind speed was still very high. I remember after days and then after 2 weeks like this, your body starts to, my body especially started to like to complain a little bit. No, because of course, as I told you, you do watches the day and the night, so you lose your sleep, how do you say in English? Your sleep cycle. Yeah. So you cannot recognize anymore what time is it the day, or what day is it, what day it is. And also you need to be a bit lucky. As I told you, you share the spaces with other people, then you share the cabins, you share the food, everything. But in talking about the cabins, you need to be lucky because if you find not the right persons maybe you are close to, it's difficult to manage all the situations. For example, I remember once I was sleeping in the middle of the night, and I remember my watch was supposed to start at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was sleeping since midnight, so just 3 hours of sleep. And in the middle, so at 2 a.m., other two crew members, they came in and doing noise, and it was raining outside, so they were totally wet. And this happened like many days in that period. And so one day I decided to go to sleep in the library of the ship instead of my cabin. So the library became my bed for 10 days. So it was quite particular. I mean, you need to survive, and your body and your mind need to survive. So I remember this was a really hard time. Yes. Well, because you are there and you cannot go anywhere else. I mean, you need to adapt.
What do these moments teach you? Did they change you?
Yes. 100% about relations, 100% with the people. Now I can sleep basically everywhere now. I can sleep when I'm lucky one day in a nice hotel, but even probably on the street. So adaptation, it teaches me a lot about adaptation. Even also sleeping for just a few hours. Because when you do watches, you sleep maybe 4 hours, that's it. So now I can manage also when I need to sleep less because I have things to do, I can do that, for example. And about food, you cannot decide your own food, food you want. So you need to be open to receive the food, what food the cook, the chef is going to do. Yeah, there are many things the ship can teach you. Exactly. But actually, in this case, is maybe a comfortable bed, your own toilet, deciding what to eat, maybe a good pasta for an Italian, for example. So this is the basics, but on the ship, this is luxury.
Change the location towards the South Pacific Islands that you mentioned earlier. Again, unbelievable footage on your Instagram. It looks like from a different world, tiny little islands. First of all, how do people react if they see this tall ship coming into the bay? It's like you put back 300 years.
Yeah, it's it's great just to see the reaction. It's like I don't know if you saw probably yes, you watched the movie like Star Trek. I think there is I don't know, maybe the third movie. There is a scene where the starship it arrives on a new planet, and is maybe a planet that was with kind of creatures living there, but in the past. So they see the ship, and it's like, oh, the starship, and it's like, oh my God, what is this? I mean, more or less it's the same reaction, but no. I mean, it's of course it's something particular to see nowadays. Not so many tall ships around, and so the reaction is wow. And then, of course, when you do landings, they ask you many questions about that. Of course.
Well, what are the questions that they ask?
Sometimes, if there is time, we can host them on board, showing the ship and these kind of things.
What is it that they are most curious about when they see you? Is it the same questions that I'm asking?
More or less, yes.
But you mentioned that in these places, you also see challenges. You see plastic pollution, you see the effects of climate change. Can you describe that?
Yes, of course. We can do a separate talk about this. One is navigation. When you're navigating in this kind of waters, last year we did from Easter Island to Fiji. So 3 months in the Pacific, and we sailed for many, many days. And of course, we had some researchers on board also. And during navigation, we found, a lot of plastics and fishing nets around, and also a lot of microplastics. We had the manta troll, and so we collected a lot of microplastics. And of course, this is something already not very good. It's not very good news, but we already know this. But specifically talking about the islands, of course, especially in Rapa Nui on Easter Island, I was in contact before going there with an organization, a local organization. It's called Te Mau Te Waikava, and they are the one on the island. They are a team of 4 people, volunteers. And they manage this organization where the mission is to clean all the beaches of the island. So I participate with them on a beach cleanup on Easter Island for a day, and it was terrible. It was just imagine Easter Island, so the mystery island with the moai, with all the history, tradition, culture of Rapa Nui, and then you see the beach full of colors and plastics everywhere. And they do this operation, so cleanups like every week, because Easter Island is in a position in the ocean where all the currents that bring all the time this kind of rubbish. And of course, this is a big problem for them, also because they are on an island. I don't know the word in English, but when you collect plastic, then you don't know what to do because you are on an island. So they put all together the rubbish and they send on a ship to Chile all the time. But other islands, they don't do this. They just burn the plastic, which is not good anyway. So I was talking to the director of this organization, and the thing that they're doing, they're constantly doing cleanups. They are involving other volunteers and maybe some tourists, sensible tourists. They go there in Rapa Nui, but still it's not enough. They need help. And that's why probably it was the first encounter that I decided to create my mission, basically my project, and that's why I'm building also a foundation. Maybe I'm going to talk later, to give them the voice, to explain all these situations and projects they are running at the moment. And the other surprising thing is that we think about islands, small islands, for example, Pitcairn. They are 39 people. 39. They are in the middle of nowhere without any airport. So you go there just by boat.
It's the entire population of the island.
39, yes. And 39, but they manage, I think, is in the top 10 ranking about size. The marine, the marine area, the protected area, is one of the hugest of the planet. And they're just a tiny island. So this is really interesting, and still people don't know this. And so this is why it's also a part of my mission, to give voice to Pitcairn Island. But there are many islands in Polynesia also. They do also, I met, of course, probably you know, coral gardeners. They are quite famous at the moment. I met the founder, Tito Juan Bernico. And of course, they're doing great things there, but they are not the only one. There are many coral gardeners around that area, French Polynesia.
And what do you see in the coral? Why can we talk a bit more for those that might not know that coral are under stress? When you go diving there, what's the state of the nation?
About Polynesia, talking to them, they are experts in this. And of course, when they see the coral, they become white. Of course, it means something is going wrong. And the good thing that they do is the process is like this. They tell me if I'm wrong in English, but they kind of cut some mother corals, big shape and in a good shape, and they use some fragments. They use the fragments and they put them on a line, like 10 fragments per each line, and then there is a base on the sand near the reef, and they put like 5 lines in a row, and after some years, actually you can see the coral grows, and after I don't remember how many years, they take out the new coral, and they're gonna put the coral on a new reef they created, basically. And this is a very nice project, and actually is really working very well, because I saw everything, and it looks like it's working quite fast and very well. But of course, they need, but also all the coral gardeners, they need, of course, help, of course, because we need. Because the climate crisis is going faster than how save the corals, let's say. Everyone must be more involved and help in some way.
I want to talk about Pitcairn Island a bit more, the 39 people. Did you go on land there?
Of course. I spent 3 days there.
What is it like living on an island that is populated by only 39 people?
Something really interesting, especially now. Then I was lucky because I was in contact with the person before going there. She's an inhabitant. She's Meralda, and now she's 68, 69 years old, but she's still strong. And actually, she was my personal guide on the island. She owned like a quad, so I've been with her like everywhere on the island. Of course, the island is famous for the Bounty story. Probably you know the Bounty mutineers. The Bounty. There is also a movie with Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson, an old movie in the 90s. No, this is the real story. There was a vessel of the British of the UK many years ago, and the mission was to collect some fruits from French Polynesia to bring them to their colonies. But after all the voyage, so we're talking about 200-300 years ago, so in a different way.
On a tall ship.
On a tall ship, exactly. So they did Cape Horn. I mean, they was crazy voyage. And of course, the captain was William Blight. So that was a bit rude with the not as very nice, was not very nice, I mean, with all the crew. And then when they reached Polynesia, all the crew, the British crew, they met Polynesian girls and they loved Polynesia, all the islands, the water, the life, nature, the culture. But after a few months, they were there collecting these kind of fruits for the mission. Of course, they felt in love with that island and the people. But the captain still was there and, of course, was ready to go back to take all the fruits. And some of them decided to take the command of the ship. So the mutiny of the Bounty, this is the story. And they took the command of the ship and the Bounty. Bounty is the name of the ship, of course. And so they left the captain in the middle of the sea on a small boat, of course. And then the other story is that he survived. He reached the Timor, I think. So another region after weeks of, how do you say in English, of navigating. Yeah, exactly. So he survived. And they reached Pitcairn. That was not habitated at the moment. So the first man was Fletcher Christian, which is the main character of the Bounty mutinies. Fletcher Christian, and from there, actually now they are still living there. The mutinies, they are all descendants of the mutinies.
Really?
Yes, and they're really proud of the story and proud of the culture they have. So many of them, they are maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 families. So not so many last names, just because they're all probably cousins or...
No.
And yeah, so we spent a lot the time with Meralda, which is a descendant, of course, and to listen to all her story. And then everything else. So we went together to see the forests, because it was incredible to see how green Pitcairn was, but not just green. All the fruits they have, they're like for that latitude. It was a surprise. I was surprised to see all of that. There was oranges, lemons, papaya, mango. So very different kind of fruits to be in the same place. That was yes, and so basically they live with what the nature gives them. Fish, of course, they go fishing, fruits, vegetables, and maybe chickens. And also there is a cargo ship from French Polynesia that goes there every, I think, 10 days, something like that, to bring maybe something they need. Apart from that, they have a museum, nothing else. I mean, a supermarket, a big market for community. There is a prison. There is a prison, but is empty at the moment. There is a school, but without children, because the average age now is like 60 years old, 50, 60, because all the youngest, they went to study maybe in New Zealand or other places. But the old ones, they still there and they're proud to be there. And this is...
What are the stories that they tell? Is it about the mutiny, or do they observe how nature changes around them? What can I imagine your conversations with Meralda?
Yeah, no, with Meralda, of course, she's very proud of the history, of the story. And of course, we're talking about the mutineers and also the places where the mutineers were living. And here was Fletcher Christian when he saw the first time another ship, or here there is another one. I mean, we went around the island, and for each places she told me, oh, this is the place where, and then of course we talked about the marine science base, because as I told you, they manage this huge marine protected area. A few years ago, the British government, they actually opened the marine science base. So it's like just a building in the middle of the palms where they host some researchers or scientists from biologists from all the world. They host them. There are some rooms to sleep there, to do research on the main island, but also on Henderson Island, which is smaller but the same archipelago. So, I mean, it's same is Pitcairn, but is not the main one. Is Henderson, and is without inhabitants, but is called in English the rubbish of the sea, because of course there are no people there. So you can imagine what does it look to arrive there after maybe 5 months. It was unspoiled, so plastics everywhere. So this is a huge problem, of course, and still it's a problem because I think I told you, every 5-6 months a team of researchers, they go there to sleep in tents, like camping for a few weeks, to do research and to do measurements and collecting data about these kind of things, so microplastics and plastics. But apart from that, yes, it's not visited at all, and so it's the ecosystem is really in danger there, because it's not easy to manage.
Do you feel like this is bothering these 39 people that live there? Do you feel they're angry? How do they see the problem?
I mean, they're angry, yes, but they don't see Henderson Island. No one of them, they see Henderson Island with their own eyes. So they are angry when they see on the main island. Yes, of course, there is the problem, but of course they are there, so they are everyone is informed about the situation. 2-3 years ago, a plastic odyssey, they went there to do a huge collecting of plastic cleanups of all the island, and they did a fantastic job. But of course now again there is a problem, but is more controlled because they are there and they can communicate with the world in some way. But Henderson, of course, there is a huge problem, but if you don't see with your own eyes, it's difficult to say. I mean, just the researchers and the people, they go there to collect data, they know the situation. And actually with them I'm gonna speak next year when I go back there.
There was where I wanted to go next. You mentioned you've been sailing across Polynesia, right? And you've seen bleached corals. Then you are in this marine protected area where probably life is thriving, at least I hope, because of the protectedness. You have images from Antarctica in your mind. You have these images standing there with 120,000 penguin couples with pristine nature. What was the moment that triggered in you this mission? Can we go to that moment? And what is your mission today?
So the moment I think was in Rapa Nui. As I told you, the first time I've been there last year, I was in contact with the Tema Autovercaved organization. Then I met Tutti. Tutti is the director, and they brought me around all the island. They explained me everything. I saw in his eyes what the problems are. And so now we're very close. I mean, we talk once in a while. We do meetings, cool meetings. It's fun to think that they are in the other part of the world, but we do. They, of course, they count on me. They love what I do. They count on me. So, I mean, I feel like we are connected in some way. And so it became my mission. And my mission is not just for Rapa Nui. It started probably in Rapa Nui, but now is a global mission. I mean, the project is called the Remoteness, Eyes to the Edge, where the mission is to document the most remote islands in the world in terms of course, I'm a photographer, so showing the natural beauty, the wildlife, nature, and landscapes. but mainly talking about the topics that the local communities they are facing at the moment. So we're talking about environment. First of all, climate change, of course, talking about especially in French Polynesia and Cook Islands. With the small atolls, they're facing the sea level rising, and this is a huge problem in Tuvalu. And then, yes, the other thing is the pollution, the plastics, and all these kind of things. And this is, I touch with my own hands these situations, and now became a mission. That's why I published a book last May. Here it's in Italian, but it's both photography and writing, explaining also these kind of things. And the next year is going to be a documentary. So I'm going to sail again to those places, Easter Island, Pitcairn again, and French Polynesia, to make a documentary, basically. So me and a very little production, because of course we need to be very flexible. I want to tell the stories of these people and doing interviews. So I want to show them, basically. I don't want to be the protagonist. I don't want to be the main character. I want to be like maybe the fil rouge, and I want to give them the possibility to talk about what they're doing. And this is the mission of my project, of the documentary, and of course the foundation. The Remoteness Foundation is going to be ready, I think, probably next year, January, February, the launch. And where the first thing is to financing all of these projects of the expeditions, sailing to these kind of remote places, and to have what? To have documentaries, to produce documentaries, to produce photo exhibitions, to produce conferences, events related to this. And also, probably the most important thing is that there's going to be an advisory board where inside all the key people of the islands will have the possibility to talk. So basically, they will be part of the foundation, 100%. So this is quite particular. It's not very common at the moment. There are many foundations out there, especially talking about the ocean. But I think there is space to give them the possibility to talk. So this is why it's very important to have them in the advisory board.
First of all, that sounds like a fantastic project. And I think it's so important to feature these people that are really at the front lines of climate change, because so many of the decision makers, right, we sit in big cities, our ivory tower. If there's heavy rain, we say, well, it's the weather, and take the next plane to Mallorca to escape into the sunshine. Whereas if you literally see the ocean rising and eating up your homeland, that's a completely different story. So I'm wishing you all the very best. And I think you're already doing such a great job at that. I think across your channels, just on Instagram, you have 600,000 followers, if not even a bit more, and probably reach way more than these 600,000 when you shine a lens on these locations. How can people support you on your mission?
Good question. People can support. Once there will be the foundation, of course, is going to be at the second phase, is going to be open for also people they want to help. So there's going to be like a possibility for everyone to help directly, also some projects related to the islands. So there will be a connection between local projects and the foundation. And this is the main thing, basically, because we need the support of everyone, and they need the support of everyone. And so it's going to be like a global platform for the remote communities, let's say. So the easiest way to help is to help creating this, basically. And the beginning especially is very important.
That's great. I'm going to put the links in the show notes on where people can find out more about you. Part of this podcast is also that I want to inspire people, or inspire them to remain hopeful for the future. We already heard a few stories from you, from the coral gardeners, but also from the scientists, Plastic Odyssey, cleaning up Henderson Island. What else did you encounter on your trips around the world where you say it's like, you know what, I am hopeful for the future?
You mean organizations?
Organizations, events, conversations. Like I would be particularly interested in the conversations that you have with the people in the remote islands.
Yeah.
What is going on in their mind?
Yeah. Let's say when I was, of course, still in Rapa Nui, there is this huge problem about plastic. This is 100% clear, and they already know what to do. But they are also quite smart because they are also creating. They have fantastic ideas, also innovative ideas. If you think, for example, they are designing this kind of boat, like in a Polynesian style, so the ancient Polynesian boats, catamarans, to use that like a research boat for the Rapa Nui Marine Protected Area, which is of course huge, and they would like to use that boat to educate people of the schools, for example, to bring them on board, showing the wildlife, explaining everything, and protecting it. First of all, also to protect their culture, their origins, because of course this is an ancient boat like it was in the past. So they would like to protect this idea and educate new generations, new people, because education is really important, I think. Because I remember I was in Tonga. This is not a nice example, but it was like this. I was in Tonga on the ship, and a man of the harbor came on board to do things with the captain, and he was smoking a cigarette on board, and then suddenly the cigarette went in the sea. But I don't know what to think. Maybe he doesn't know all the things we know in Europe or in the US, whatever. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he needs to have some education about these topics, I think. Because nowadays, it's rare to see. I mean, maybe it's not rare, but it's rare to see in Europe, in the Mediterranean, in Italy, someone smoking and then throw it in the water. Now, there is sensibility about this, I think, I hope.
No.
But you are in a remote island in the middle of the ocean. I mean, you should know it's not good, especially in an area in Tonga where is full of humpback whales. They are there with all the how do you say, the calves. So I mean, it was a terrible image. I was swimming also another time. I was swimming with an humpback whale. It was around me for half an hour. It was a special day and special emotion for me, of course, incredible. And after 20 minutes, I remember she came very close to me, like 5 meters. I was still like this in the water. She came to me, and suddenly we were looking in each other's eyes, and suddenly how do you say, the cigarette cigarette butt was floating in the middle on the surface of the water. So imagine what an image. Terrible. So
such a magical moment. And then
exactly. So that this is the question before. What was the moment? When was the moment you decided to do this thing? Yes, one is Rapa Nui, but the other one is this image.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's changing people's behavior is also such a difficult task. I remember one story, and it's, I think, one of my favorite stories ever. I had the privilege of living in Hawaii for 6 months, and we went out at night, and in Waikiki there's a bar that basically faces the ocean, and there was a tourist that was flicking his cigarette butt into the ocean, and this big Hawaiian local guy approached this person and says, like, you go in and get that cigarette out of the ocean. And he insisted until that person got into the water and got that cigarette butt out again. And I think this is kind of the attitude that we need. I mean, obviously education should be the first one, but then there's also just pure carelessness, right? And
yeah.
Seeing that, and I just wish we could take everybody into these locations at least once to really trigger this behavior change, because I think you need to fall in love with an ecosystem. You need to truly understand an ecosystem that you have the willingness to protect it. And I mean, it's not a surprise that you personally fell in love with it. I fell in love with the ocean a bit more just through your words, just through the images that you put into my head, but also onto my phone. So I'm really, really grateful for the stories that you shared with us here today. And I can only invite everyone that's listening to follow you. It's exactly the thing that you want to have in your algorithm.
Mhm.
It doesn't infer doom and gloom, just pure wonder and love for the planet. So I wish you all the very best on your journeys.
Thank you, Joel. I hope this mission is gonna be. I mean, is a really I'm putting a lot of effort. So I hope everything is gonna be good for all the people that are involved. Actually, so yeah.
Yeah, I hope that we get to speak again when you come back from that mission.
Yes.
You can tell us what happened. So
Yeah, of course. The second episode. Yes.
yeah, fantastic. Niccolò, thank you so much for your time today. People be inspired. Go follow Niccolò. Maybe
Thank
book
you.
a voyage and follow his work.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Where the ocean meets.